Atheism and religion cooperate to control the spiritual. It may sound counterintuitive, but they are kissing cousins. Modern atheism's mother is the Church. The Church preached an imaginative reality for 2,000 years. Business and science made their imaginations real. Both know how to control the human mind. Business and science just do it better. The Church passes the baton to a new generation of atheists. Within each church congregation, there are at least 2 or 3 people who were born with spiritual gifts that have been outlawed by the Church for nearly 2,000 years. Why do they go to church? Because they love God and Jesus. But they don't speak up. They know what would happen if they did. Some theologian observed around 1960 that the Church had spent 2,000 years getting rid of all the gods and spirits. Science only had to get rid of the last one, God himself. Atheism owes a great debt to religion. It made it easy for them. As Emil Durkheim and Karl Marx have pointed out, religion's job is to organize the spiritual for society, to create social order, a department of governing, like the tax department and army. Religion got control of the spiritual and shut down all spiritual reality, leaving just God to be contained in a church, in limited, constantly repeating ritual, and limited the mind with doctrine and dogma, constantly focusing on one Bible story, like becoming experts on one molecule in an entire universe. Anything outside of this one story is a threat. Ministers and priests serve the institutional program to help with social control. With spiritual reality so restricted by the Church, science then proceeded to limit it further. Science believes that reality is just inert matter, just molecules and energy, invisible objects that humans can now control to create the life we want. I once attended a debate between a leading American atheist and a major evangelical pastor who had a couple megachurches and global ministry. After the predictable debate, I told the two that they believed reality was the same thing, just molecules and energy. The preacher just added God on top of that. His jaw dropped, speechless. I then asked the atheist if he really believed he was just water and chemicals. As I made my way back to my seat, I listened to the joy in his voice. Finally, he could say what he believed. Yes, yes, that is all I am. That is all we are, just water and chemicals. Through atheism and religion cooperating, the spiritual has been defeated in our lifetime. Religion got God under control and eliminated all the rest, and scientistic atheism then delivered the coup de grace to the cornered Almighty. It is not a question of whether the spiritual exists or not. It is fundamentally irrelevant to the daily lives of modern humans. Business and science provide everything the human animal requires for survival. They have created an artificial environment for humans to exist in, and education creates a mental architecture within their minds on how to perceive their reality, themselves and the world around them, in the artificial environment of the modern city. A native man can walk into a forest and perceive the spiritual within it. A CEO of a paper manufacturer walks into a forest and sees toilet paper. The architecture of the CEO's mind is guided by her social conditioning since early childhood. The possibility of a reality outside of that architecture are simply irrelevant to her. She is fully integrated into her urban environment's structure, a seamless whole, invented by business and science for her to be absorbed into. It is her identity. It is all-consuming. To realize a greater reality would cause an identity crisis that would put her current identity in peril. Whether one lives in the city or in rural life now, business and science provide a total environment for the human mind and body to live. Nature is secondary. Compare these two words, environment and nature. Environment is a concept. Nature is alive. The environment is a scientific term which creates feelings of control over reality, safety, a system for humans to manage, like a business. Reality is just inert matter, molecules and energy, a system that we can control, own, and take intentionally for our own purposes. The modern city is an environment. It is totally artificial. It does not create itself naturally. It is a concept from the human mind that converts natural reality into technology humans dream up. The only life allowed in a city are humans. And everyone who has a job is contributing to keeping that artificial system running. If people stopped, the city would crumble, as well as people's survival system. If the grocery stores are empty, people starve. If people are jobless, they have no money to buy food. Both are controlled by business, using scientific knowledge and systems management to create money for government and consumers alike. It all comes from concepts first, then put into action, creating the reality. The environment is a system, raw material to be shaped by us. It is our right. Reality is like a city. The only thing alive is humans. Nature is alive. The environment is a concept. Society describes nature as the environment, a system which we control, the whole ecological system of the planet. It is humans from the city projecting their reality onto everything outside of it, just another system of inert matter, molecules and energy, to be exploited as natural resources, hopefully managed properly by business and science to sustain our lifestyle. Life has never been better for humans. We lack for nothing. Religion was required when society still lived with nature, when people still lived with natural life on the farm, living with the overwhelming power of nature in all its complexities, like the fickle weather, wild animals, disease, farm crops, and domesticated animals, life and death for survival. A prairie farmer can walk to the edge of his field and watch the storm coming. He knows what it will do and runs to batten down the hatches. God is not hard to perceive when you live with the overwhelming power and chaos of nature in all its forms, weather, wild animals, and domesticated life on the farm. Church was just an hour a week on Sundays, a nice break from living with nature day in and day out. In the modern city, the weather is just a nuisance, going from the house to the car, then into work. It may knock out the electricity for an hour or two, an inconvenience. The grocery stores remain full, and even the shocking devastation of Hurricane Katrina on New Orleans, or a volcano in Iceland, disrupting airline traffic, simply create temporary disruptions from the norms of our expectations. The Church historically has worked with business and science in daily living. Religion has now become redundant for organizing social order, unnecessary now that humans are not under nature's control. Humans adapted so its power is safely under human control within city systems. Atheism merely describes its own artificial environment, a projection of its mental architecture formed in childhood that effectively controls reality. Life is only water and chemicals, like mixing water and concrete, a chemical reaction. On top of that, humans can believe anything they want, even spirituality. It is irrelevant. Business and science is our survival system now. Humans are totally dependent on them. They cannot fail. Safe within our environment, one question does arise. What will happen when nature comes back to the city?